the minister was there yesterday and he helped to calm the situation. We are continuing to keep a very close eye and also engaging with various members of the community, because we don't want that situation to turn into an ugly one. So we're consulting on all sides, people who live there in Diepsloot, and also listening very closely to their concerns. But we will not condone any criminality. Any form of criminality which results in the death of anyone is not acceptable, and we will take action to deal with it.
All right, so the President was speaking on the sidelines of the Heads of Mission Conference in Pretoria today. SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo is there. Very good afternoon to you, Khayelihle. Just tell us what else came out of that conference and speak to us about what the President said also about the incident in Diepsloot.
Well, that's right, Sanzinga. So the President really says lawlessness will not be tolerated, but also the acts of criminality as well will be denounced. But also in the main, a bulk of his address to South Africa's diplomats scattered across the world and right here in the continent, it centered around, of course, the conflict in Ukraine, where he said it has had a very extraordinary impact, but also talking about the ramifications of the conflict, saying it has disrupted the global supply chains, but also apart from that, it's precipitated the prices of fuel and other essential goods really just getting slightly higher, more than what South Africans are used to, but also encouraging South African diplomats to be very much at the forefront in terms of making sure that they sell South Africa as a very good destination in terms of investments. But now, Nzinga, we're joined by South Africa's ambassador in Ukraine, Ambassador Groenewald. Ambassador, obviously the issue around Ukraine, that's a most topical issue. And also we had once again the President emphasizing the issue around the dialogue, calling for the parties to meet and calling for cessation of hostilities, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is what we have been saying all along. And this has been true to our history. It's true to what we have been doing. It's true to our process, and as well as what we have been doing all over the world. Is trying to get parties together, and it's very difficult to get parties together when you are critical of one party or of another. We need to be, equitable in our approach. We need to make sure that our voices are heard, because it's not just about now. I mean, now it's the war and it's the issues around it. It's all over the media. But the issues that we are going to see lingering from this process, the price increases that are going to be passed on to the consumer, the issues related to food security, those are the issues that we need our partners, our international partners and interlocutors from all over the world to remain with us and remain in a situation where we can actually speak to them and find solutions as a global community.
But once again, your principal, Dr. Pandor, talking about the double standards in terms of, in some quarters in the international community, where we've seen a raft of sanctions imposed against Russia, but of course we've seen in other conflicts, whether you're talking about Palestine and others, where we've seen sheer silence, not really a proactive approach in that regard.
Absolutely. And I think if there's one good that can come from a war, where there can never be any good, to be clear, is maybe a focus on some of the other areas that have been asking for more, sort of a spotlight on it. And the minister specifically spoke about Sahrawi, and the minister specifically spoke about Palestine. But also later in an address, he spoke about what is happening in Yemen. And we have already seen some movements in the Yemen issue. And so we are grateful for that. And we are hoping that these issues can be addressed, and that we can, through this, show the sort of this just juncture between, for example, what is happening in Ukraine and maybe in some other areas of the world.
And maybe just before I let you go, Ambassador, obviously we've been exposed to the destruction in Ukraine. We've seen the likes of Mariupol, Kyiv, and many other cities as well. And that disturbing massacre by Bucha, as somebody who was there, surely that must be quite disconcerting, seeing those very grim visuals being beamed across the world.
It's devastating. And I can tell you on a personal level, living in a country and knowing how Ukraine has made real efforts over the years to build the economy, and to know and to see this devastation, not just now, but devastation that has been, been in the country for many, many years. This First World, the Second World War, what the country has gone through in the Holodomor. These are the kind of things that just breaks your heart, especially if you see the commitment towards development. And it's for those kind of things that we need to come together as a world and address. And yet again, it's not just Ukraine. There are so many other countries in the world that are struggling with that. And in that case, the minister mentioned Gaza as well. How Gaza was devastated a couple of years ago. And we need to look at this. It cannot be that we have these kind of incidences. We need to have a better world. And I'm hoping that our logo as a South African diplomat, a better South Africa, a better Africa and a better world, that we can implement this through what we are seeing now, and that there will be some good that will come from this.
All right, Ambassador, thank you so much indeed for your time. So Nzinga, that is South Africa's ambassador in Ukraine, Andrew Groenewald, really painting a very grim picture about the state of affairs in that war-torn country.